Good evening, and welcome to the Lake Havasu City Council meeting on Tuesday, September 24th, 2019 at 6 p.m. We'll have an invocation led by Pastor Mike Cardell from Hilltop, if you would like to come to the podium, followed by a Pledge of Allegiance led by the Lake Havasu High School Student Council and Associate Student Body.
Good evening. Let's bow our heads. Father God, we thank you, Lord. We thank you for all of your provisions. We ask that you guide the proceedings today. Let us have open hearts. Let us have discernment and understanding. We're so grateful for all your provisions. We ask that you just watch over Lake Havasu City and all the decisions. Continue to guide us, give us wisdom and strength. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And welcome from the Lake Havasu High School Student Council and Associate Student Body. Ella, if you'd like to introduce your colleagues and tell us a little bit about your organization.
All right, so hi everyone. My name is Ella Wofford. This is Alyssa Musselman. She's our Sergeant at Arms. This is Greg Melodia. He's our Secretary. And this is Crystal Frosto, and she's our Treasurer. So first of all, we appreciate the invitation to come here and share a little bit about our organization. In our council, we strive to inspire participation, serve with a purpose, and embrace the equity of leadership in our council and on our campus. So we believe by upholding this mission statement, we are able to create a positive environment in our school. And as our council, that is our primary purpose. So a few upcoming events. Our council is hard at work to put on the homecoming dance, which is this Saturday. So this week is a little bit crazy, but always so much fun. We have a whole week of events coming up, but tomorrow we have a fundraiser through the Wild Coffee Truck. So she will be giving us 30% of her proceeds back to our council so we can use those funds to create a better school for our students. So grab a coffee before you go to work. Help us out. We also have the homecoming game this Friday. We'll be playing against Gila Ridge, and so come out and support our varsity team. They always do great. We have a beautiful new field and some great upgraded facilities, so go check those out. And we just want to say again, thank you for inviting us, and we always appreciate the support that the council gives us. So thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. All right, the next item on the agenda is our roll call.
Council members Cal Sheehy.
Here.
David Lane.
Here.
Jenny Koch. Gordon Grote.
Here.
Michelle Lynn.
Here.
Donna McCoy.
Here.
Jim Dolan.
Here. Thank you. Item 5 on the agenda is our call to the public. This is where citizens have the opportunity to address the City Council on any matter within the jurisdiction of Lake Havasu City. If you're here tonight to speak on an item that's on the agenda, we recommend you wait till that item so we can have a two-way conversation. Otherwise, we can just listen intently and possibly give direction based on your feedback. You would have 3 minutes to talk to us during call to the public. There is a light indicator box at the podium. Green means you have 3 minutes, yellow is 1 minute remaining, and red is the time is up. With that being said, would anyone like to address the City Council during the call to the public? Seeing none, we'll close the call to the public. Next item is our consent agenda. Would any of the council members like to remove any of these items for separate conversation?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Motion?
Yes.
I move to approve the consent agenda as proposed.
I'll second that motion.
All right, we have a motion from Vice Mayor Lane and a second from Councilmember Grote. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we're ready to vote.
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you. Item 7 is correspondence, communications, petitions, announcements, and the city manager report. 7.1 is announced vacancies on Lake Havasu City boards, committees, and commissions. Ms. Williams.
Mayor and City Council, there are a number of vacancies on Lake Havasu City boards, committees, and commissions. The following is a listing of those vacancies. Airport Advisory Board, 1 regular pilot member. Board of Adjustment, 3 regular members, 3 alternate members. Planning and Zoning Commission, not public, there's no vacancies on that at the moment. Public Safety Personnel Retirement System, 1 regular member. Anyone interested can pick up a packet at City Hall, and they are also available on the city's website.
Excellent, thank you. Item 7.2 is our city manager's report. Mr. Knutson?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The past couple of weeks, Mayor and Council were very busy in the community, attending ceremonies, awareness walks, proclaiming days, calling bingo, and welcoming home our local veterans. Of course, all attended the 9/11 Remembrance Day ceremony at London Bridge Beach Park, in tribute to all the victims and the many who rose in service in response on 9/11. That same week, Mayor Sheehy called out bingo at Hangar 24 event. On Friday the 13th, Councilmember Donna McCoy visited the Sleepless for Cure event at Michael Allen and presented a proclamation in honor of Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Then on Saturday the 14th, Councilmember McCoy met with the Havasu Youth Advisory Council at Rotary Community Park for the #YouMatter Suicide Awareness Walk. Councilmember McCoy presented a proclamation proclaiming September as Suicide Awareness Month. Later that same afternoon, Councilmember Lynn welcomed home Private First Class Marine Kristen Jameson at the VFW. That photo was courtesy of River Scene magazine. And just last Saturday, Vice Mayor Lane joined Representative Leo Biasucci to celebrate the 100th birthday for Lake Havasu City resident Jean Osmond Drury. Vice Mayor Dave Lane presented Jean with a proclamation proclaiming September 23rd as Jean Osmond Drury Day in Lake Havasu City. I'd like to thank our Public Works maintenance crews for the work they did at the Lake Havasu Municipal Airport. It features a new respite for military personnel that use our airport for military purposes. Our city crews did a great job. The space couldn't be more welcoming to our military, and we're very thankful to have the military here. Our fire department was awarded an Assistance to Firefighters grant in the amount of $418,653.63. This grant allows for the purchase of self-contained breathing apparatuses, or otherwise called air packs. The current air packs are older models that are due for replacement, so this is great news for Lake Havasu City. Pictured here is Captain Jason Mecklem, our CBA program coordinator, giving us a look at the current air packs at Fire Station number 2. The maintenance and repair of our air packs is done in-house and saves our taxpayers a lot of money. I'd like to have a special thank you to our Fire Division Chief Scott Hartman for the work it took to apply for the grant and the many grants our fire department has received in past years. To Scott, keep it up. We need more. The Lake Havasu City Fire Department and CERT is celebrating the installation of 500 Knox boxes since the inception of the program in 2012. The Knox box is a secure system that offers emergency access to the home for residents that are unable to open the door for first responders. The availability of emergency access provides peace of mind to the resident and prevents the unnecessary damage that would occur if forcible entry is needed by first responders. The boxes are free of charge to residents that are elderly, live alone, or have reduced mobility. And installation and maintenance of the Knox box is provided free of charge by our friends in CERT. The service has been made possible over the years by generous community support that we received in donations and in boxes. So thank you for that to the community. For more information on this program or for qualifications and donation opportunities, please contact our fire department. And that phone number is 855-1141. The U.S. Census Bureau is currently hiring full-time and part-time positions in Lake Havasu City and Mojave County for the upcoming 2020 census. The positions are temporary and flexible with varying pay ranges. For census takers, the pay starts at $14.50 an hour. This is a perfect opportunity for our residents to earn some extra income and help the community as we get the count out in Lake Havasu City for the upcoming census. For more information on eligibility and job descriptions, please visit their website at 2020census.gov/jobs. Through 2 months into this fiscal year, we have some permitting numbers to report to council and the public. In July, we had 32 residential homes were permitted, and in August, 20 residential homes were issued. These numbers are down slightly from last year at the same time, but construction activity in Lake Havasu City remains very strong. Also, over the last 2 months, the city's building division performed 683 plan reviews in just 2 months, and 2,432 field inspections were done over that same period of time. And lastly, a reminder that our next coffee with the mayor and city manager is Friday, October 4th at 8:30 a.m. And next month we'll be at the Havasu Senior Center, located at 450 Acoma Boulevard South. Mayor and council, that concludes my report.
Thank you. Do any members of the council have any questions for Mr. Knudsen? All right. Moving on to item 8, our public hearings. Our first one is 8.1, adopt resolution number 19-3350, appointing a member to the Public Safety Personnel Retirement System, local police and fire boards. Ms. Williams.
Mayor and City Council, the city received one application requesting consideration for an appointment to the Public Safety Personnel Retirement System, local police and fire board. This appointment is needed to fill an appointed member position that expired July 1st, 2019. Mr. Nathan Burnell's application was provided to you in the packet, and he is also available or here today to answer any questions from the council.
Excellent, thank you. Mr. Burnell, would you like to make your way to the podium? I think you need to hit the microphone button when you get there. Right in the, yes, perfect.
Hello, everybody. I'm Nathan Burnell, as indicated. Tell you a little bit about myself. I've been living in Lake Havasu City for about 15 years now, a little over. Before I moved to town here, I was in the U.S. Marine Corps, where I held the rank of Staff Sergeant and was honorably discharged from there. I've worked at Horizon Community Bank for about 15 years since I've been here, and I'm currently Vice President of Commercial Lending there. I saw the opportunity to join this board come up. I was notified of it, and I think public safety is a vital component to any community, and being able to support that in any way, particularly the personnel that provide us with public safety, is something that interested me, and something that it's a way that I see I can help support that, as help support the community.
Excellent, thank you.
Okay.
Do any members of the council have any questions for Mr. Burnell? All right, thank you very much.
Thanks.
All right, this is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the city council on this matter? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing.
Mayor,
Councilmember Dolan?
motion?
Yes.
I move to adopt resolution 19-3350, appointing Nathan Burnell to the Public Safety Personnel Retirement System, local police and fire boards, with a term to expire on June 30th, 2023.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Dolan and a second from Councilmember McCoy. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we're ready to vote.
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you, and thank you for volunteering. Yeah, congratulations. Item 8.2 is introduce ordinance number 19-1224, amending Lake Havasu City Code Section 3.20.040, schedule of fees and service charges and updating costs recovered. Ms. Olson.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. This evening, we're bringing you the annual review of the fees and charges for the city. The ordinance that's being introduced will actually update the list of the costs that are recovered and the percentage at the rate at which they're recovered. And then that ordinance, that section of the code, refers to the master fee master fee schedule, I should say. This year, we applied a 1.9% consumer price index. That was based on the Bureau of Labor Statistics information on their website, April to April. Staff sent out all of the recommended fees and charges based upon applying that 1.9% to those that are eligible for that. Some fees that are not eligible, like water and sewer rates, the actual fee we charge for that is done by a rate study, not by this process of changing it. We've sent those out to the departments. They made recommendations back to us. You'll notice that some of the fees, the quickest way to see if a fee had a change is as you're looking through the master schedule. Just look at the far right column that shows the difference, and you'll be able to see which fees changed. There are several fees for which staff recommended no change, and so that remained in this report as it was. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any specific questions you may have.
Thank you. Do any council members have any questions for Ms. Olson? Vice Mayor Lane?
Hi. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ms. Olson, I have a question on page 9, item S110, business license processing. Under reasonable cost to be recovered, it says the average rate is 106%. I'm just curious as to why we have an average of 106% and why we're actually going over the 100% mark.
The math gets a little tricky on this one. We actually determine what a cost for the service is, and that's what each business is charged. But you'll notice down lower in the bottom portion of that section that the business license applications that come in these quarterly periods, if they come in the middle of the year or middle of a quarter, then a portion of that business license is prorated for them. So it's counting as one full business license for the year, but it may only have a prorated amount. So when you do the math on that, it can appear that we're recovering more than our costs when in fact we are only charging the actual cost. But the math comes out to 106% based upon counting the licenses compared to the costs. Did I make that more confusing?
No, it's new math. No, that makes sense. It's an average, we're not actually recovering 106%. It
That's
appears that
correct.
we are when we're not really. It's less than 100% because of the proration.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. That's the only question I have.
Councilmember McCoy, I'm sorry. Did anyone else have any questions for Ms. Olson? Councilmember Lynn?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I just have one comment. Most of the fees, I'm fine with the change. The only one I would like to go back and just leave would be the youth camps. I know it's only $6, but when it's $296 and your second kid is $234, I know it's only an extra $10, but I would like to just see it stay the same. That's the only comment I have.
Councilmember Lynn, what page is that?
Page 74,
Page 74.
under youth camps.
Do any other council members have any questions? The council might be looking to get to that page. Ms. Olson, I do have a question on the proposed facility use fee schedule. Where did we start with the beginning number? So I see where the CPI is calculated into the new proposed fee, but how do we determine what the base fee was in the first place?
The base fee would have been what the fee was on the schedule that was adopted last year.
Okay, so have we done do you know if we've gone out and done like a comparison of similar facilities or other communities to see if they're fair?
To my knowledge, we did not do that this past year.
Okay.
That was something that we looked at last year when we did the more thorough process where we didn't just apply CPI, but we did an actual look at each of the fees and
Okay.
had the departments assist us with determining what the costs were.
Okay. Thank you. All right. This is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the city council on this matter? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing.
Mr. Mayor, motion?
Yes.
I move to introduce ordinance number 19-1224, amending Lake Havasu City Code Section 3.20.040 and updating cost recovery.
Councilmember, okay, real quick, Councilmember McCoy, are you in agreement with Councilmember Lynn's proposal to keep the youth camps the same, or?
Since I didn't hear anything from any of the other council, I was just going with what the staff
Okay.
put forward.
And then, so do we have a second? Seeing no second, then yeah, the motion would fail, and then we could have another motion that was proposed.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Grove.
if I may make a suggestion, we could redo the motion. I could ask Councilmember McCoy to redo her motion and then as a friendly amendment, accept Councilmember Lynn's change.
Yeah.
Would that be
so
acceptable?
Councilmember McCoy's motion has already failed at this point, so you can introduce. Yeah, please.
Only I was going to ask her if she wanted to do it.
That's okay, go ahead.
Okay. Well, then I'll move to introduce ordinance number 19-1224, amending Lake Havasu City Code Section 3.20.040, updating costs recovered with the singular change being, you may have to help me out, Counselor Lynn, on page 74, youth camp.
Yeah, it's on page 74.
I do remember that page 74.
Yeah, to remain the same.
To remain the same. Thank you. Thank you. That's
And I will
beautifully done.
second that one.
Thank you,
Excellent.
Councilmember McCoy.
All right, we have a motion from Councilmember Grote and a second from Councilmember McCoy. Is there any further discussion? Before we go to vote, I just would like to possibly give some direction to city staff to maybe next year when we're doing this, let's look a little bit more long-term so we don't have to do this every single year and citizens don't have to have an adjustment every year, whatever that might look like. We can look at it in a fair way that we're recovering the cost, but not having to go through the process yearly.
Okay, and that'd be the direction for next year?
Yes.
Okay, very good.
Is the rest of the council good? All right, so we do have a motion again from Councilmember Grote and a second from Councilmember McCoy. We're ready to vote. Technology, yeah. On this side, I don't know what it looks like on that side, but.
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Olson. Item 8.3 is adopt ordinance number 19-1221, amending City Code Section 10.12.170, commercial vehicles on residential streets regarding public service and public safety emergency vehicles. Ms. Gary.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. At the last City Council meeting, Council introduced an ordinance to come into compliance with a state law that prohibits the city from restricting certain motor vehicles from being parked on a street, specifically public service and public safety vehicles of a certain size. Staff recommends that we adopt this ordinance tonight, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Excellent. Do any members of the council have any questions for Ms. Gary? All right, this is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the city council on this matter? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing.
Mr. Mayor?
Oh, thank you.
Councilmember Grote.
I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance 19-1221, amending City Code Section 10.12.170, commercial vehicles on residential streets.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Grote and a second from Vice Mayor Lane. Any further discussion? Yeah, so for those watching at home, this will allow public safety vehicles to park at their home. They're considered commercial vehicles, but it's complying with state law. So you might be puzzled, like, why are we even talking about this? But we have to comply with state law, and that was a change in legislation this year. So it allows police officers to take their car home and park it there. All right, we're ready to vote.
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you. The next item is 8.4, adopt ordinance number 19-1222, approving a planned development rezoning of tract 123, block 8, lot 1, and tract 125, parcel H, from R1 Single Family Residential District to R1 PD Single Family Planned Development District, and general development plan for the Hilltop Church expansion, including a height exception from the maximum building height of 15 feet to construct a new church facility 30 feet in height from the established maximum grade of 115.5 elevation. Mr. Morris.
Yes, Mr. Mayor and council members, thank you. As you mentioned, this is the Hilltop Church property. It's on McCulloch Boulevard North. And it's located on the south side of McCulloch between Bermuda Avenue and Daytona Avenue. The property itself is about 6 acres in size. It's kind of an interesting shape here, kind of a zigzag shape. Here's a kind of a 3/4 view of it. The main church building here was built in 1967. In 1999, there was a conditional use permit for a learning center that was approved, and there's a playground that's associated with that in the church. This request involves a new facility built basically in this area. So I'm going to go to the next slide, and it shows a number of buildings. Building A is the proposed new building. Here's the existing building, and then the existing church facility, and here's the learning center, and then the playground, so kind of relative where everything is. So this is the proposed new building, and it's part of what they're calling out as a 2-year plan. So building A is part of their 2-year plan, and then buildings B, C, and D would be future, and they're calling out for a 15-year plan on that, so that's way down the road. This is what they hope to look like, again, in about 15 years. This request is for the new building right here. Now, the property is zoned R1, which allows a church, and the maximum building height in the R1 is 15 feet. So they're want to go a little taller than 15 feet, as churches are typically larger buildings. And the way they're doing that is asking for a PD amendment to increase the height. Now, a height of 15 feet or 30 feet or whatever is going to depend upon where's the zero. When you determine that height, where's the zero starting point for going up in height? So if you'll bear with me, I'm going to go to this next slide. This is like a street view of the property looking from McCulloch Boulevard. The base elevation for this property was determined to be 115.5. You think, well, what's that mean? So we're going to go a little study over here about how to determine building heights and where the zero is. So in this case, this street slopes upward as you're going from right to left on this, and then the 0 point is the high point of the street. We would assume that to be a 100. Just make that up as a 100 elevation. And then this particular property, it was determined that 15 and a half feet, but for ease of calculation, we're calling it 15 feet. Above that is where the zero is for measuring the height of the building now. So this is just a relative idea of how tall 15 feet would be, about that. And then if they're requesting to go up 30 feet from this base elevation, would be this taller red line. And this is generally where the church would be located. So if you see that, and you see it's 30 feet above the grade of the pad elevation, the base elevation, but that's really going to be about 45 feet above the street. It won't be up at the street, but it's set back. But if you were to measure it from the street and you look at it and say, wow, that's really tall, it would look like 45 feet or so, but it's really no more than 30 feet tall. So I'm hopefully explaining that well enough. Now, this property is interesting in that the church is on the hilltop, I guess, a good name for a church, the Hilltop Church. It's on the top of that hill, and it slopes down in the back and in the front. So when the original request came in, it was for a height exception up to 30 feet for the property. And that could be problematic because we look at the property and the topography. I'm going to go to the next slide here. And this is a topographic map. And again, we have the existing church building here. And it's an elevation, so down at the street, the actual elevation is about 1,040 feet. And so the church elevation is about 1,055, about 15 feet above the street, okay? And the proposed new building is at that elevation. Now, if we said, okay, let's approve a 30-foot height exception for the entire property, let's go down here where this future building is. The playground's about 1041 elevation, which is about the same elevation as the street. So theoretically, if we went 30 feet for the whole property, you could go basically, let's see, we'll do the math here. From the playground to the current elevation would be 14, let's call that 15 feet, and then 30 more feet would be 45 feet down here, which seems pretty tall given the residential properties around. Even more extreme example is down here at the bottom of the property where it's elevation 1022. That would allow up almost a 60-foot tall building, which would seem inappropriate for that specific location. So staff and the Planning Commission recommended that the approval of the 30-foot height exception be allowed in Building A, but Buildings B, C, and D would be held to 15 feet in height above whatever their their pad height is going to be when they get constructed. And again, that's 15 years or so down the road. But keep in mind that the applicant could come back for a PD amendment if there's something that makes sense at the time that that could work for the community and the neighborhood. They would be allowed, of course, to come in for an amendment to change that if they wanted to. This request is only for Pad A. We're saying, yes, we recommend, the Planning Commission and staff recommend approval for the 30-foot height exception for there, but not for the others. They be held to 15 feet. So with that, I'm open to any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Do any members of the council have any questions for Mr. Morris? Vice Mayor Lane?
I do. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Luke, can you go back to the picture from the street? There you go. So looking at the building of the church that they have now, it looks like the current church building is almost at that level anyway, looking at the steeple of the church. So on this new building that they want to put, is that 30-foot building height for the actual top of the building and then there'll be a steeple on top of that? Or is it a 15-foot building with a 15-foot steeple? Do we know that information? Because I would think a 30-foot building height and then you add a steeple on top of that, it's going to go even higher.
Thank you for the question. The 30-foot building height would be overall for the building itself, and there is an exception in our development code for steeples. It's a percentage of the building. I don't remember off the top of my head. It's like 10 or 20% of the building itself. The roof area could go taller for a steeple, and it was in there basically for churches and that sort of thing. So yes, they could go taller with the steeple per the development code. That would not require a planned development or a PD amendment because it's allowed per that use.
Does anyone else have any questions for Mr. Morris? All right. The applicant is here. Do you want to speak or do you want to speak during call to the public? No pressure if you don't want to.
Good evening. My name is Rick Boucher. I represent Hilltop Church with RB Design, and I'm just here if you have any questions, feel free to ask. And basically, we are asking for the 30-foot height to kind of blend in with the rest of the churches around town. You have the Catholic Church, which I believe is over 40 feet high, and there's just the other exceptions that we would like to comply with. These are future plans. Buildings B, C, and D may not happen. They may happen in 15 years. We're not sure. Building A is our initial idea of what we would like to do for the immediate future, possibly 2 years, possibly 3. We're not 100% sure. It all depends on funds. So if you have any questions, I'm here to answer.
Great. Do any members of the council have any questions for the applicant? Vice Mayor Lane?
If I may have, I noticed on the one picture that Luke showed, and it showed the lots that are, go to the, there you go. And it has all the lots back here on Aztec. Have you spoken with any of the people back there on Aztec about their thoughts on the matter with the church being that tall behind them, already being on top of the hill and then being that much higher?
Right, correct. We had a meeting with the public, and we only had 2 neighbors show up, and none of the neighbors showed up on that street. And during the planning and zoning meeting, we had the same 2 neighbors show up at the planning and zoning, but they had no indications on any problems with height at all.
If I may ask, what were their concerns, or were they in support of?
Actually, the only concern they have was traffic flow.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Does anyone else have any questions? All right, thank you. This is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the city council on this matter? Hi. When you get to the microphone, just state your name for the record for the city clerk. And
my name is Ron Austin, and I live right across the street from the church, and he was probably standing on my lot when he took that picture. And I'm the one with the brown roof right at the very bottom middle. And once again, I was here with the meeting on August 7th or whatever it was, I forgot. My concern is with the buildings B and C, originally they wanted to make them 30 feet, and there was even talk of 60 feet. I don't know if it was brought up or whatever, but that, and once again, when they build the buildings down, once again, speaking of C and D, no, B and C, no, C and D, okay. The traffic pattern coming out of there, right where the C is, you have the outlet now, and then they talked about making the outlet up at the north end, the right of the picture. But my wife and I were concerned if they make it where everybody goes in and out that straight one on the left side of the picture and keep the hill the same grade, the potential of could be bad for somebody to come straight down, because that would be coming straight almost to our house there if that curved piece was not there, because they build the B and or C and D buildings. And that was our biggest concern. And also a question to the church would be, what are these buildings going to be for? Is it going to be for a college, some type of schooling with higher grades? We noticed that there's a fairly full parking lot on Sundays, but through the week, they have their, I think it's on Wednesday night. But I guess our biggest concern is, what is their future? My wife even said to ask, are they trying to rezone it so that they can sell it to somebody down the road and make it some type of a college or something more than just the church? So if somebody could just address those issues, I would appreciate it. And that's pretty much.
I think Luke can talk a little bit about the future based on the zoning of what would be allowed.
Well, the zoning's R1, so a church is allowed use, residential uses are allowed uses. Typically a college or something like a school, I have to look at the code. I don't believe they're typically allowed in the R1. I have to look and see, but they would go through a design review process, same as anything else. A church, any work or any projects that they have here, any new buildings would go through design review, ensuring they had the adequate parking. It would be routed for comments to the building department, through the engineering department for things like right-of-way access and things like that. Landscaping would be looked at. So it would go through all the development plan, the design review process and the building permit review and all those, regardless of the type of use that's in there. And if it's allowed, I want to say that a school is allowed in the residential areas. I know there's a number around town that are in residential areas. So without specifically looking at it, we don't obviously get many requests for new schools. So I haven't reviewed that portion of the code very closely, but they would be reviewed like anything else for compliance with the city codes and development code.
Yeah, thank you. Does that answer your question, sir?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay.
I mean, they're talking 15 years down the road for the two buildings, C and D, and in talking to the pastor and a couple other gentlemen when we walked out of the meeting last time, they said those buildings would be set back from McCulloch a distance into that hill. But once again, I thought it was really strange that it was brought up that they could potentially be 60 feet tall. Doesn't that seem, has that all been dropped down?
Yes, yeah, the matter in front of us right now is to go to 30 feet for just building A.
Right,
and
just
15
for A.
feet for buildings C and D. So
Right.
which is already allowed in its current state.
Before anything could be done with C and D, it would have to be brought up again.
If they wanted, right now it seems the proposal is at 15 feet and they seem happy with it based on planning and zoning's recommendation in the hearing that you were at in August.
Okay, I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Would anyone else like to address the city council on this matter? Yes.
Rick again with RB Design. If you want, I can make an explanation that might help him out a little bit.
Please.
If we move forward in, say, 15 years with building C and D, the proposal is that that would be the new church and a new nice convention hall, and building A in the existing church that is up there, they would be completely gone. The whole thing would be a parking lot up on top, and we would have two exits, one on the east side, which is up on the right side right there where Luke is pointing, and then the other exit is on the left side of building C. So that would help with dual traffic going each way and just help with the traffic congestion a little bit in the area, kind of like the Calvary Christian Church over on South McCulloch.
Very good. Thank you. Would anyone else like to address the city council on this matter? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. And just as a way of procedure of what occurred here, we have a planning and zoning commission that has 7 commission members that have already heard this matter in a public hearing where residents and neighbors were able to participate in the public process. It's then referred to the city council. This particular zoning matter has been referred to the council with a 7-0 recommendation in favor of this rezone request. So with that being said, does anyone have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion.
Yes.
I'll move to adopt ordinance number 19-1222, approving the rezone of tract 123, block 8, lot 1, and tract 125, parcel H from R1 to R1/PD, and a general development plan for the Hilltop Church expansion, including a height exception from the maximum building height of 15 feet to construct a new church facility 30 feet in height from the established maximum grade of 115.5 elevation with the following conditions. 1, building A shall be no taller than 30 feet from the maximum grade established for the property. And number 2, future buildings B, C, and D shall be no taller than 15 feet from their proposed pad elevations.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Grote and a second from Councilmember Lynn. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we're ready to vote.
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you. Item 8.5, adopt ordinance number 19-1223, rezoning a 1,736 square foot portion of golf course parcel 1 added to tract 134, block 6, lot 7, as shown on parcel plat 37-10 from golf course GC district to residential estates RE district. Mr. Morris.
Yes, Mayor and council members, thank you. This property is located on the south side of town on the west golf course, west leg of the golf course or west section of the golf course. Here's the area map. It's near the intersection of Magram Drive and Hagen Way and Hagen Drive. Here's the current zoning. So you'll see the subject property is 524, and then there's a little piece behind it that was part of the golf course. The golf course is zoned GC, golf course, and the residential areas around it, for the most part, are zoned RE. Now, it wasn't always that case. When the development code was updated in 2016, the golf course was zoned RE. Part of the development code update, it was determined that the golf course should probably be zoned golf course, and so if that hadn't happened back in 2016, we wouldn't be here today talking about a rezone, because the golf course was zoned RE before. So that's why we're here now, because the golf course is now zoned golf course. Also, when the golf course had new ownership, they've revamped some of the fairways and some of the layout, and they have parcels adjacent to the RE that are zoned golf course that the golf course is willing to sell to adjacent property owners. So there's probably been about 10 of those sales that have gone through where they've adjusted lot lines. So they've taken a part of the golf course, and I'll go to the next slide. Here's the example in this case. They've taken part of the golf course here and added it to their lot. Now, that did not change the zoning of the golf course portion that they purchased. It was still zoned golf course, and their property, of course, is zoned RE, the original lot number 7. So this is an example where there's a lot that has 2 different zonings on it. It's not typical, it's not the way we normally like to do things, but it does happen from time to time, which could be fine. They don't necessarily have to request a rezone, but the zoning administrator made a determination that, you know, if they're trying to develop that lot now with new buildings and new structures, it'd be more appropriate that they had the same zoning. There weren't 2 different zonings. So the suggestion would be, okay, you should probably rezone the property to RE so that it's all one zoning, and then the setbacks would apply to the new property dimensions. If they weren't rezoned, that's fine, but the area that's zoned golf course would have to be only allowed uses that are allowed in a golf course, things like walls, retaining walls, landscaping, even a swimming pool. They could be allowed in that golf course portion, but the setbacks and all would, for the RE, for the new buildings, would be based on the RE zoning area. So what this property owner would like to do is, he's already demolished the house and we're going to rebuild, and would like to take advantage of the full property boundary, and so they're asking to rezone this to RE from golf course zoning. So hopefully that helps. If you have any questions, feel free to
Hey, can you talk a little bit about the setbacks? So what would the setback be from the where the property line adjoins the golf course there?
The setback for an RE property, if this is rezoned to RE, the setbacks are in the front are 20 feet for the house and 25 for the garage. That's unchanged. The setbacks from the sides are 10 feet. The setback from the rear is 20 feet. Those setbacks are for the main structure, the main house. Detached accessory structures are allowed to encroach into the rear and side setbacks in all zoning districts. But it would be limited to, if it was going to be in the rear 20 feet, it would be limited to 15 feet in height instead of 30 feet, because the RE zoning allows 30 feet in the buildable area, the main home area. If you can build in the setback, rear setback, with a detached accessory structure, but then the maximum building height is 15 feet, and then it can't be, of course, in a utility easement.
Excellent. Do any members of the council have any questions for Mr. Morris? Councilmember Dolan?
I have a question. And we talked about that the golf course is doing sections like this. So just to clarify, we'd only be doing this as if the homeowner, the property owner requests just to have them be the same zoning. So we wouldn't be going this through every sale or everything. It's okay if they stay RE and golf course. It's just if they want to do something, then they would request it through the city to change it to be all RE then.
That's correct. If they're going to build a structure on there that needs a building permit, or actually not even even if it doesn't need a building permit, because if it's under 200 square feet, you know, not attached, doesn't have electricity or plumbing, then it doesn't necessarily need a building permit, but it still needs to meet the building setbacks. So it wouldn't be allowed. I mean, if they built it where it shouldn't be, they'd have a code enforcement issue that they'd have to resolve.
Thank you.
And you're correct. We're not going after people say, hey, you need to rezone your property. It's totally at their what they want to do. If they want to do that, that's fine. If not, then they're limited to the uses in that golf course zone portion of their property.
Any other questions from council members? No. Is this the first one that's coming for a rezone? Okay, so this way is the first one that's coming. So as other neighbors do, they might start getting a little awkward in
that's
the
correct.
sightline.
I should have made that more clear. There have been a number of lot line adjustments, which is just staff review and approval. This is the first one that's been a rezone, so there may be even more of these coming in the future.
Very good. This is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the city council on this matter? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing.
Mayor?
Yes.
Motion?
Yes.
I move to adopt ordinance number 19-1223, rezoning the 1736 square foot portion of golf course parcel 1 that was added to tract 134, block 6, lot 7, as shown on parcel plat 37-10 from golf course district to residential estates district.
Second the motion, Mr. Mayor.
We have a motion from Councilmember Dolan and a second from Councilmember Grote. Again, the same process occurred here with the Planning and Zoning Commission, and this was referred to council with a 7-0 recommended approval as well. With that being said, we're ready to vote.
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you. Item 8.6 is approve addendum 5, task order to professional services agreement with CNS Engineers, Inc. for design services for the airport taxiway A and connectors reconstruction project. Mr. Herb.
Thank you, Mayor, members. Yeah, hello? Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. What we have before you tonight is task order addendum number 5 for professional service agreement with CNS Engineers. This task order is for the design of Airport Taxiway Alpha reconstruction project, which is part of our municipal airport in Havasu City. Our goal is to bring the taxiway, which is currently in poor condition, back to a newer condition and to reconfigure some of the connectors to bring it back to current standards. This project is mostly funded through federal FAA funds as well as ADOT grants, with a small portion of 4.5% being funded by the city. I would also like to mention that we have Lance McIntosh here tonight. He's from CNS. He could be available if you have any further questions that I can't answer. So for those of you in the audience who aren't familiar with our airport, the airport is located in the northern end of the town. It's adjacent to State Route 95, and it's across the street across the freeway from our mall. Zooming in a little bit closer, in red you can see the taxiway Alpha, and you can see parallel to that in yellow our runway, and you can also see 6 different connectors that gives access to and from the taxiway and the runway. The connectors are an important part of this project as well too. The taxiway and the runway are both about 8,000 feet in length, which is almost 2 miles long. The airport as well as the taxiway were constructed in 1990, so it's about 30 years old, which means the pavement here is about 30 years old as well too. Some of the design considerations that we're looking at is, of course, it's going to be new pavement and base course material. Like I said before, the pavement is 30 years old, and the expected life of a pavement is about 20 years. So there's considerable amount of pavement that needs to be redone. And also, if you go out there and look at it today, you'll see some considerable amount of cracking in the pavement. Those cracks are very prominent, they're very deep, they're very wide, and it penetrates the full width of the asphalt pavement, which is about 8 inches. The slide to the right demonstrates just how deep those cracks really are. Also part of this project is we're looking at some of the signage as well as some of the edgeway lighting that may need to be replaced as well too. And the connectors, the 6 connectors are going to be looked at and make sure they're in compliance with current FAA regulations. Some of these may need to be reconfigured to bring it up to current standards. Overall, we expect the construction cost to be $7 million, which is a considerable project for Lake Havasu City. The design cost with CNS before you tonight is about $395,000 and $778. Other costs associated with design adds up to about $10,000, so the total design cost is about $406,000. And like I said before, there's some grant funding associated with it. 91% is going to come from an FAA grant. 4.5% is going to come from an ADOT grant, and the remainder will come from the city. We expect the design to start almost immediately and to be completed somewhere around April 2020, and it'll be out to bid in May 2020 as well too. So with that, I'll be available for questions.
Excellent. Do any members of the council have any questions?
I have a question.
Councilmember Dolan?
That $7 million sounds like a lot. Maybe we could chip seal for a lot cheaper. Just totally kidding. Throw some roundabouts in out there? No.
Yes.
The $7 million, I imagine a lot of that comes from grants from the FAA directly, so we wouldn't be on the hook for the $7 million. We'd pay a percentage of it once we get to that point of actually doing the project.
That is correct. 91% would be from the feds, and another 4.5 would be from the state.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Any additional questions from council?
If I may, Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Grow?
I was just curious, you know, if you could tell me a little bit more about the FAA grant. I'm just curious about that piece.
The grant for the
I
design
mean,
portion
yeah,
of this project?
it's great. You know, this is almost all being paid for by somebody else. But which grant is it?
It comes from the FAA. And you want a more specific name for that grant?
Yeah, no, I was just curious. You know, like the Federal Aviation Administration has a whole pile of grants that they put out for airports, in particular rural and municipal airports such as ourselves, as well as major metropolitan areas. And I was just curious if you had any more information on that, but it's not necessary
Councilmember
for me to deal
If I
with
could
this.
interject, I believe it's just an airport improvement grant, so the 2019 part of the airport improvement grant, AIP.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, the great thing about our airport is it provides amazing economic opportunities for those that use it. And although there's not commercial service, there's a lot of flights that private takeoffs and landings, and the majority of the maintenance is paid for by grant funding through FAA and or ADOT with a really small city match. So, you know, tonight we're talking about $18,000 of local taxpayer money for an investment of $406,000 in design services for what will be a great improvement to that airport that's used tremendously. Again, if you're not in the aviation sector or don't use it, you wouldn't necessarily recognize that, but it's amazing what happens out there at that airport. Are there any additional questions before we open the public hearing?
No, I just want to thank the mayor for pointing out the economic impact of this to our community, how important it is, and attaching the dollars and cents. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, this is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the city council on this matter? Just make your way to the podium and state your name for the record.
Hello, my name is Nancy Campbell. Hello, Mayor and Council. It's nice to see you. Be in the business of asphalt and concrete, I want to ask the City Council, are you going to be responsible? It sounds awesome that we have all these grant money coming and the cost is really going to be deferred, but are we, the City Council and taxpayers, responsible for the maintenance of the asphalt?
Yes, we would be. As we are
Have you looked at possibly the cost differential between concrete nowadays and asphalt?
We could take a look at that. That's something that we could explore.
Because I know personally the cost of asphalt is maintaining it ourselves, actually being in the business of both concrete and asphalt. It's enormously different over long-term maintaining asphalt versus concrete. So if we could look at that, considering we're going to be responsible for the maintenance of the asphalt moving forward, I would like to just mention that.
Yeah,
All right. I would assume that Portland cement would be a lot more expensive up front with steel reinforcement.
Mm-hmm. Yes. But long-term, and especially with the weight load that you're talking about against asphalt, I'm sure it's all spec'd out, but I'm just making a statement that I personally know, I've seen it over the years, especially in Havasu, how the UV protection is, it really destroys asphalt. I don't like it, even though we sell it. But anyhow, just, that's all my comment.
Yeah,
Thank you.
We'll take a look at it. There's some specifics of the FAA grants that don't allow as much flexibility. One benefit is that it's not local taxpayer dollars paying for it, but there are some very specific requirements, but great point. So thank you for bringing that up. Any other folks want to address the City Council on this matter? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing.
Motion, Mr. Mayor. Move to approve Addendum 5 Task Order to the Professional Services Agreement with CNS Engineers Incorporated for design services for the Airport Taxiway A and Connectors Reconstruction Project.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Grote and a second from Councilmember Dolan. Is there any further discussion? We're ready to vote.
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you,
Ms.
Mayor.
Herb. Next item is 8.7, approve Amendment 1 to Cooperative Purchase Agreement with Superior Supply, Inc. for road and highway materials, asphalt crack sealants. Mr. Porosky.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Before you is our annual cooperative purchase agreement with Superior Supply for annual crack sealant. This year, we anticipate crack filling over 220 lane miles of road, which is approximately about 50% more than we did last year. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Yeah, one question I have is, so we purchased the stuff for the crack seal, and then we contract with a different company?
To actually apply it on the.
Okay, so this is for the product?
This is just for the material alone.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, any additional questions? Vice Mayor Lane?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening. So I noticed over the last couple of years, the actual cost has been going down. Do you expect that to continue this year?
I would mean the cost of
purchasing
the material?
That's correct. It was, if you look at 2017-18, it was 125,616, and then 2018-19 was 116,000. So you actually saved us, almost $10,000.
Well, no, it's because we didn't crack seal that much.
Okay.
That's why. I mean, this year, we're trying to do more.
Okay.
So we're planning on spending to crack seal additional lane miles than we have in the past.
So we have more cracks in Havasu than we did?
We have more cracks. With 25% of our streets still the original streets back when the town was built.
Correct.
And the sewer project was it started in 2002. Those streets are now 17, 18 years old, which we think are new, but they're not, because they should, we have to maintain those, and along with the newest streets are already 7, 8 years old.
And you have to seal the cracks before you can do the chip sealing.
Yes, or plastic seal, or fog seal, or anything we do, we should and crack seal.
Okay, thank you so much.
Do any other members of the council have any questions? All right, this is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the city council on this matter? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing.
Mr. Mayor, motion.
Yes, Councilmember McCoy.
I move to approve Amendment 1 to the Cooperative Purchase Agreement with Superior Supply, Inc. for an estimated annual expenditure not to exceed $200,000 and authorize city staff to exercise the 3 additional 1-year term renewal option.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember McCoy and a second from Vice Mayor Lane. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we're ready to vote.
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you. Item 8.8 is approve cooperative purchase agreement and purchase of 7 various vehicles for police, fire, and streets with Santan Auto Partners LLC, DBA Santan Ford. Mr. Prosky.
And again, this is for the cooperative purchase agreement off the state contract to purchase 5 patrol vehicles, 1 fire battalion command vehicle, and 1 street pickup out of her fund. All these vehicles that are being replaced, all of them are in the 35 plus points on the APWA guide. That's based on condition, mileage, repairs, so forth. So all these far exceed what the guide says we should go. Because back, we originally had it at 28 points, then we raised it to 32 points, and now we're already to 35, 36 points on these vehicles. And we're replacing 13, 14-year-old Crown Vics for police, same with fire, same with streets, and we really need to start replacing vehicles more than we have been. Past 2 years, because of budget constraints, police and fire, streets did not get no vehicles at all, no patrol vehicles, no fire, nothing. So this is the first year in the past 2 years that they're actually able to fund the budget to purchase new vehicles.
Great, thank you.
And I can answer any questions.
Do any members of the council have any questions?
I have one, maybe just a comment too.
Yes.
Just to clarify, on the next agenda item, we're also approving 2 vehicles for fire. The reason they're separated is because they come from different dealers. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Do any other members of the council have any questions? So just a couple of points of clarification for those in the audience and watching at home. Mr. Porosky mentioned a cooperative purchase agreement on the state contract. Cities and towns within the state go out and get bids for items of goods and services within that would be used. And we're able to take the lowest one that's available through other communities. Sometimes it's ours, other times it's these. So it gives us the best value for the taxpayers on that state contract. And then also the point system that Mr. Porosky mentioned, we have a fairly sophisticated program that rates each piece of equipment that we have within our city assets, and it gives a point value. Once we start reaching above the 32 range, is in the best interest of taxpayers for us to replace that item and still be able to get recoup some sort of cost by selling off that asset in a public process. As Mr. Porosky mentioned, the council, as a way to save money during lean budget years, has increased that number from 28 to 30, 32. And so these vehicles we're talking about today are at 35 plus. So that's kind of how we do the whole piece so that we're being stewards of the taxpayer dollars. With that being said, this is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the city council on this matter? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilmember Dolan?
Motion?
Yes.
I move to approve the cooperative purchase agreement and the purchase of 7 utility and pickup trucks with Santan Auto Partners LLC, DBA Santan Ford, in the amount of $374,189.36, and authorize city staff to exercise the option to renew the cooperative purchase agreement in accordance with the Arizona state contract for 2 additional 12-month terms through March 31st, 2022.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Dolan and a second from Councilmember McCoy. Is there any further discussion?
Mr. Mayor?
Councilmember Groh?
If I may, I really just wanted to amplify what you said, Mr. Mayor, in so much as we do have a very sophisticated system that we use to decide when we need to replace vehicles. But, you know, it's also about the safety of our employees, and it's about risk management as well. So, you know, we want to make sure that they have decent vehicles that are safe, and we're keeping our asset replacement within the schedule that we've predetermined as a municipality. So thank you very much for pointing that out, Mr. Mayor, and I'll turn the agenda back to you.
All right, we do have a motion and a second. Without any further discussion, we are ready to vote.
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is item 8.9, approve cooperative purchase agreement and purchase of 2 fire department 2020 Chevrolet Silverado C2500 HD 4-wheel drive crew cab SB as equipped from Midway Chevrolet. Mr. Porosky.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, this is for cooperative purchase agreement with Midway Chevy for 2 fire battalion command vehicles. These were originally, years ago, these vehicles were approximately 18 inches shorter than the Fords were. And of course, Chevy didn't want to be outdone by Ford, so they increased theirs this year by the 18 inches, so they're the same size. But by keeping with the Chevy still, we're able to utilize some of the equipment that's on the existing vehicles and adapt those to the new vehicles. So Chief David decided it was better just to keep it the same and go with the Chevys and adapt to those. And with that, if I can answer any questions you may have.
Excellent. Councilmember McCoy?
Yes, I just wanted to ask, we get the same deal from Chevrolet that we got from Ford?
It's all off the state bid.
Perfect.
So
Thank
yes, we do.
Councilmember Dolan, did you have a question?
I think it's just an interesting perspective too. Think about it. We're not just buying vehicles, we're also buying the equipment for, of course, for the police and fire, all the equipment that comes with it, that are all add-ons and stuff that are very valuable.
They're very valuable, yeah. And we're able to utilize some of the old stuff off the old trucks, put them on the new trucks, so that saves a lot of money also, so.
Excellent. Any other questions? Vice Mayor Lane?
Just a comment, to reiterate for the public, this item, or both of these items are budgeted, so it's not like it's a surprise that we are spending this amount of money. It was already in the budget. We'd already approved it during the budget, but because of the amount of money that it is, we have to go through the approval process for the particular item, but we were planning on doing this.
All right, if there are no other questions from council, this is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the city council on this matter? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Groh?
I'll be pleased to move to approve the cooperative purchase of 2 pickup trucks with Midway Chevrolet in the amount of $132,164. Approve and authorize the city manager to sign the cooperative purchase agreement and authorize city staff to exercise the option to renew the cooperative purchase agreement in accordance with the Arizona State contract for 2 additional 12-month terms through March 31st, 2022. And these words don't add, but I am going to get some serious grief from a couple of friends of mine because it's a Chevy, not a Ford, but I like Chevys.
Second.
All right, we have a motion from Councilmember Grote and a second from Councilmember Lynn. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we're ready to vote.
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you. Next item on our agenda is current events. Do any members of the council have any council committee reports? All right, item 10 is our final call to the public. Again, this is the opportunity for citizens to address the city council on any matter within the jurisdiction of the city. Would anyone like to address the city council during the final call to the public? Seeing none, item 11 are our future meetings. Our next meeting is on Tuesday, October 8th, 2019 at 6 p.m. It's a regular meeting. And then on Tuesday, October 22nd, 2019 at 6 p.m., we'll have another regular meeting. Item 12, future discussion items. Do any members of the council have any future discussion items? All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. We have a motion from Vice Mayor Lane, a second from Councilmember McCoy. We are adjourned. Thank you for joining us.